to ask each other, now what's going to happen? Let one of us go and try and get some food, something from a community. And remember, they think it's still polytheists there. They still think they've awoken at the time of the Roman Empire where everyone's worshipping idols. So now they're afraid. And tomorrow will come to a principle that they give to one another. And they tell one another a principle that you and I have to uphold, especially in this environment. That if you put yourself in an environment where you are certain that you will be affected and your religion will be affected, then they give a principle and they say you will never be successful. You can say, but they were doing taqiyya. Initially, they were hiding their faith. They were hiding their faith initially. But then they came out. And now they had freedom of practice. They were practicing their faith. Now they're telling one another, if you go back into an environment where you know you will have to hide your faith again, or you won't be able to practice your faith, then you can never be a successful individual. You have to ask yourself, in the environment that we're living in, how long can we stay in an environment where we are certain that we cannot practice? Maybe many of us can say we can practice right now. But like I said yesterday in the seminar, we don't wait until we fall into the fire of hell. You start realizing that the heat is getting stronger, and at that time you have to leave. You have to migrate, you have to move, be it city or country. On the day of judgment, again, mentioned yesterday in the seminar, it's very clear that people will say, but you know why we were practicing in such a fashion, or why we were not true Muslims? We were mustada'afina fil ard, we were oppressed in the land. And the angels turn around and say, was not the earth of God vast enough that you could migrate within it? Did you have to stay here? The majority of us may stay in an environment not for the upholding and safeguarding of our faith, but maybe due to the comfort that the physical world provides us in one part of the world. God forbid if you lost your job tomorrow, and you continue to dish out your CVs, and you try to start up a business and it didn't work, how long until you pack your bags and you migrate to a place that you can actually bring in bread and butter for your family? Not more than a month probably. If you've got savings of 6, then within that, you're up and you've gone. For the protection of the food of my family, their stomachs, and the shelter on their heads, and the clothes on their backs, I would be ready to migrate and move. What about for the protection of their souls then? Is the verse of the Quran not so clear? O mankind, you have one duty to yourself and your family. قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. Protect yourself and your family from what? From the fire of hell. That's the requirement. The requirement is not to give them every want that they have. The requirement is not to give them a luxurious life. If you can do both, go ahead and do it. But what takes priority is that child who you send to school and I send to school. And voluntarily we send them to a school where we know they are getting polluted because he comes back confused with questions that he shouldn't have in his mind. That in a reception class just here in Northwood, you find that a teacher puts different colored crayons on a table and tells the child of 4 years old that this is a blue crayon, but if it wants to call itself red, then it can. What's happening to that child from that age of 4 years old? And who is answerable for it? That child is moldable in your hands. You and I are going to be answerable for the foundation that has been infused into this child's mind and the outlook that they will have in life because of the environment that we place them in. If I can counter it, all well and good. If I can be on top of the game, excellent. If I'm going to be part of the cohort that's going to move into the school system and I'm going to take a position and I'm going to question what they teach our children, I'm going to have a look at the handbooks and the textbooks and the papers that they're dishing out, great. But then be an active parent in the lives of your children and their education. But if I'm going to take a seat and I'm going to take a step back from their lives and I'm going to spend most of my time at work, and if I'm going to leave the nurturing of my child into the hands of an individual whose morality I question, then who's to blame when this child grows up confused? Yes, the child will answer for their own actions. وَلَا تَزْرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. On the day of judgment, nobody can answer for somebody else's actions. But until that child grew up and became of age, you and I as their parents will be answerable for their actions.